Welcome to No Flipping Excuses with Jason Lucchese. Jason Lucchese was the guy voted least likely to succeed by his high school peers. Today, Jason's a real estate flipping ninja Jedi Knight assassin who's taken his drive, street smarts, and never give up attitude and converted them into a real estate flipping business and freedom-based lifestyle. After years of being chained to a cubicle in the mortgage business, watching his coworkers go bust, customers go bankrupt, and his hairline go bye-bye, Jason decided to make a change and blaze his trail to the flipping promised land. Each episode, Jason shares real-life real estate case studies, tips on how to find, finance, and flip deals, and mindset tactics he uses every day as a real estate investor, mentor, and leader so you can free yourself from the shackles of corporate America, fire your boss, and live the life you've always dreamed of, right flipping now. Here to share the truth about flipping houses, finding sellers, delivering buyers, real estate investing without the reality show hype, and all-around general business badassery, your host, Krav Maga enthusiast, husband, and father of three, Jason Lucchese.
Hey there, what's up? It's Jason Lucchese, and welcome to the No Flipping Excuses show. I've got a good friend of mine that's going to be joining me here in just a second. But before I do that, I want to thank you. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you for coming back and listening to the show. We are in store for a really great episode. So with you subscribing, you get first dibs of knowing when new shows come out. If this is your first time listening to us, welcome to the show. And once you're done listening to this episode, make sure you go subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. That's going to help us out tremendously. But besides just helping us, it's going to help you as well because you're going to get notified of when awesome brand new shows like this come out. So without further ado, I've got my good friend Don Costa with us, and he has a great podcast that I highly encourage you to listen to as well. It's called Flip Talk. And Don, how you doing, my man?
I'm good, Jason. Thank you for having me, man.
Absolutely. And sorry if my voice sounds like it's about to go out. We've been doing a lot of these podcasts here with awesome folks like yourself. But Don, tell me a little bit about yourself, man. How long have you been in the business, and why did you get started with real estate investing?
You know, I've been in the business since 2003. I lived through the market crash. So I always say I have two lives in this business because I got started in 2003, did really well, and then lost everything, and then rebuilt. And, you know, I got started in it. I was always entrepreneurial. I think like a lot of us, we're always entrepreneurial. We just don't know where we're going to land.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was watching Carlton Sheets and Don Lepre and all these infomercials, and real estate just seemed, I think, to intrigue me the most. And I happened to be in the right place at the right time, and I was able to get started, and haven't really looked back much since. Gotcha.
No, that's awesome, man. It seems a lot of us that got started in real estate, like with me, I got started in the mortgage business, saw exactly what happened. I lost my job, lost all of my retirement savings, and then had to start from the bottom up. So it's crazy how things work themselves out. But Don, tell us a little bit about your current business. Like what's your main like bread and butter that you're doing right now?
So I'm a rehabber. I always have been a rehabber. When I got started, I don't even know if wholesaling was a known thing or a taught thing. I mean, wholesaling is like the gold right now, right?
Right.
But back when I got started, it was no money down, you know, buying houses, flipping them, or buying houses for rentals and doing that kind of stuff like that. So I started as a rehabber, and that's just where I kind of stayed, and I know it, I understand it, and so that's my core competency is rehabbing, you know, fix and flip. So
yeah,
that's where I'm at today. Little wholesaling here and there. We're doing more. Like this year, we're doing a little more wholetailing. We're buying properties, not touching them, throwing them in the MLS and seeing what's going on, and doing really well doing that. So, but our core competency is rehab.
No, that's awesome, man. So when you talk about when people say, you know, it's kind of like a mixture between wholesaling but somewhat rehabbing. So you might go in, do a little bit of the property just to make it like look a little bit better. Kind of I don't want to say slapping, you know, lipstick on a pig, but essentially almost in a sense it's like that. It's actually a really, really great strategy for increasing profits in my opinion. Don, how long have you been kind of doing that whole thing?
So basically, the last quarter of last year is when we really started kind of throwing things on the market and seeing what would happen. Again, I've always been in the mindset we had to add value as rehabbers.
Yeah.
And we had a couple of projects that we knew we'd make money on if we rehabbed them, but they were, one of them, the roof was caving in, the foundation was sloping. My project manager didn't want to have anything to do with it because it was going to be a longer project than he'd like to be in.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were like, okay, if we do this, we'll make money. And if we throw it on the market, we might make money. So let's throw it on the market for 10 days and see what we get. And if we don't get an offer, we'll rehab it. And we end up getting bid up. We made 36,000 on that. But here's the key. You're talking about wholetailing in, going in and cleaning it up, and maybe throwing some paint on the walls. What I'm talking about is my current market condition is I'm not even touching them.
No, nice.
I'm closing on them, throwing them on the MLS, and then letting other investors basically fight over them. And
nice.
we would have, on that one, we would have made about 22 grand if we'd have rehabbed it based on our calculations. We made 36 just throwing it on the market and letting people bid it up.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So are you a licensed agent yourself?
No, I'm not. I've never been. My business is investment. I do have a partnership with a sister real estate company that has, a broker and agents and everything else. So we do a lot of all our business through them as far as listings and stuff like that. But our core business corporation is an investment company, and I am not licensed and very proud of it.
No, I know. A lot of people ask me that question too, and I've never become an agent. What's crazy is I went just to see how it was. I did the hours that you need to do before you could go take the test, and I went and did it just to see. And I was just like, after I got my completion of my certificate to go do the test and the exam, I was just like, I don't think I want to do this. And, I just decided not to do it. So I'm kind of in the same boat like yourself. I haven't been in it, and it's not something that's necessary. Shoot, we've been doing this business for a really long time, and we've never, had a license. So that's really cool. So right now you're mainly doing a lot of your rehabs, and you're in a competitive state, right? You're in California.
We are. So I'm in the Central Valley, just to be clear. I'm not in the Bay Area, LA. So our price points are very similar to the rest of the country. Our entry level homes are in the 150 to 250 range, first time, second time buyer. So we're not, in the Bay Area, California, your first time buyer home is going to be well over $500,000. So we're not in an inflated market. I'm very much like the rest of the United States, but it is still very competitive.
Oh, okay.
We do have a lot of competition in our market, and we have to be creative. We have to do the work to get the deals, but we're getting them, and we're having a good time doing it.
No, that's awesome, man. So one of the things we'll be talking about here in just a little bit about rehabbing, some of the things that you wish you would have known, like as a newbie here, and we'll get into that here in just a little bit, but. I like to ask folks this question on the show. What's kind of like your big why? Like what makes you feel like, I want to wake up, be a real estate investor, do this business? Like what's that behind you? Like what's driving you to do this business?
Well, I think we all want to create stability for our families, right? I mean, that's kind of the core. I have a wife and 3 kids. I love my family. I want to create stability for them. I want to be able to do things with them and enjoy my time with them. So that's one of the reasons. But beyond that, for me, it's the hunt. I like the build, and so I love the acquisition side of the business. That was probably my favorite part of it. I don't get to do that now because I have a fairly large operation, and we do over 100 houses a year, and but I used to love that acquisitions, and it was, for me, I know people think it's crazy when I say it, but it wasn't about the money. The money was like the gravy. It was a secondary. It was a thrill of the hunt for me. I love the thrill of the hunt.
Yeah.
So, now I look at, what excites me is growing my business, creating opportunities for my team to earn and have their dreams come true, to create stability in my company, so I have stability in my family. So it's the creative for me. The money comes, I think, when you love and are passionate about what you're doing. And then the money is great because of that. But right. I really, it's the hunt for me. It's the build, if that makes sense.
No, that totally makes sense. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So when when folks get started, they really need to establish their why in order to really, be successful in this business. And, let me make sure people know, like, Don's doing like 100 plus deals a year, that's not just a one-man show. You need to have systems in place. You need to have a team in place in order to do that. If you tried doing it yourself, you see right here with my hair, you'd probably have even less than that. So, and that's saying something, because I don't use the razor on my bald head here, but you would literally drive yourself nuts. And I probably would assume, and you tell me too, Don, you'd probably have the longevity of maybe like a year or two in the business just before you drive yourself absolutely nuts.
No, and I had those moments. The first time around, I didn't run my business like a business. That's one of the reasons why I crashed and burned. And the second time around, I was bound and determined to run it like a business, but I didn't know how to accomplish that really when I first got started again back in 2012. And I just remember this. I had many aha moments through the years. And this one, I was crossing the street. I got out of my truck. I was shutting the door. I was getting ready to cross the street to go to a property to pick paint colors. And I was late to get back across town to pick my son up from school. And I had something else. I had to get back to the office to do, to basically, cut checks to the contractor so I can get reimbursed from the investor on the project. And I just felt like I was drowning. I remember thinking that this sucks. Like, I really hate it. I think I was doing like 5 rehabs at the time and at one shot. I just remember really, really hating what I was doing in the moment. And I was like, this is not why I got back into this. And that's when I just made the decision that, I needed to start, letting go of things. I needed to bring in a team. I needed to let go. And even then, as I started developing a team, first person I brought in was a project manager, because that was what I did. I hated doing the most. I brought in the project manager, but I still didn't let go. I was still a bottleneck for a long time. Yeah. And I started learning. I don't know. My nature, I think, like all of us are entrepreneurs, is they want to control everything. Mm-hmm. And at some point, I had another aha moment and realized I need to let go. I need to let him stand or fall on his own merit, let him fail, because that's how he's going to learn. Yeah. And I told him, stop calling me. Don't call me with questions. And it's on you. You go do it. If you make a mistake, we'll address it later. And that was the best decision I ever made. And I realized that and started adding the pieces to the puzzle. And now I got a team that, I was not here the whole month of July this last year, and my business still bought and sold houses. We did phenomenal.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
that's awesome. And for folks that are, listening right now, one of the things that I always say is the best thing that you can do having your own business is getting out of your own way. And once you do that, you could start seeing the picture from instead of being inside the business, you could start looking from it from an outsider's perspective. And that's what successful CEOs do. And Don's been doing that now for a while. But one of the things we're going to do when we come back, we're going to continue the conversation with Don, talk about rehabbing, talk about raising private money, talk about finding deals. So you do not want to miss this. This is the way that Don's generating some big profits in his business. And like you just heard, how he's able to leave for a month at a time while his business is still running with or without him. So I'll be right back with Don. Talk to you soon.
Have you been struggling to close your first real estate deal? I hear this all the time, and you're not the only person in the not having closed your first deal boat. I was there, and the feeling is horrible. I can tell you on page 103 of my book, Right Flipping Now, I address how you can easily overcome closing your first deal quickly and easily without using any of your own money or credit. My first deal closed when I was on vacation. I made $26,000. You can do the same thing. Grab a copy of my book at getmyflippingbook.com and you can get your first deal closed for massive profits. I have copies of my book available at getmyflippingbook.com, and you can have a step-by-step plan for making profits on your first deal, closing within the next 30 to 60 days. Go to getmyflippingbook.com. That's getmyflippingbook.com. www.getmyflippingbook.com.
Hey there, what's up? It's Jason Lucchese, and welcome back to the No Flipping Excuses show. I am joined by my good friend Don Costa, who's doing 100+ deals a year. I almost said a month. That would be crazy. But hey, it's Don. You never know. The dude probably could do 100+ deals in a month if he wanted to. But we've been talking about some stuff like what's gotten Don in the business, what kind of is his focus in the business, and what's the why, because you need to have a why when you're doing this business. So Don, let's continue the conversation here, my friend. What, like rehabbing, it's one of those things, like it either drives people nuts or it could be extremely profitable, which you've been able to expose the extremely profitable side by being able to have a project manager so you won't be driving yourself so crazy. But what are you doing from a rehabbing standpoint right now that's, being able to help you see so much success?
Well, I mean, honestly, it's systems, right? And
Yep.
and people say systems all the time, but I don't know if you really get what systems mean when they say that. So I'm going to break it down.
Yep.
To me, systems are boundaries. Systems are the box within everything's going to operate, and they're rules, they're standards, they're operating procedures. And every company's going to look a little different. Nobody's going to back up to your driveway and drop a truckload of systems in your driveway and have you just be able to take off and run your business, right? Because we all run them a little different. But so for us to be successful, we have these systems, these boundaries, and we set them on everything we do. Every single thing we do, from how the contractor's allowed to invoice us. Every contractor has to invoice us by Friday. They're not, allowed to invoice us. If they want to be paid that next week, they cannot invoice us past Friday. So if that makes sense, if you invoice me on Monday or Tuesday, you're not getting paid. You invoice me by Friday, you get a check by the following Friday. That's a system.
Yeah.
So my person in the office comes in on Monday, cuts all the checks for the week. We know all of our obligations capital wise for the week. And, we get reimbursed from our investors. A lot of our investors, we just get reimbursed each week. That's how we're structured.
Yep.
So we get the money into our bank account before we ever get it to our contractors. That solves a cash flow issue. So now we have, accountability there. We have transparency there. We have the money in the bank there. And then the check goes out to the contractor.
No, that's awesome.
we have the contractors bill us Friday for what they're going to complete on Friday. So, and if they're not finished, they don't get their check. So they set a goal this Friday for what they're going to complete the following Friday. You kind of see where I'm going?
Yeah.
And then they get that check if it's complete. So you start doing those things, you start putting those structures in place, and you start training everybody who works with you into following those systems. And pretty soon you got an operation that runs like it's supposed to, and you're not pulling your hair out. You're not going crazy. and we do that from the way we work with our contractors and vendors, to the way we work with our team internally, to the way we even list properties. We have standard notes on every single property we list, whether we're listing an in-house or with an agent. We have a standard counter on every property we send out. We require all buyers to pre-qualify through our preferred lender so that we know that they're a solid buyer. When we sell,
Smart.
we don't have a question as to whether or not that loan's going to close.
Yep.
So every single step of the way has a boundary, a box within it has to operate, and that allows us to be successful.
No, that makes perfect sense. Being able to, as we used to do it in the mortgage business, and we do it in our own real estate business, is, we have different statuses that each part of the property moves along. Especially, it's going to be really important from a rehabbing standpoint to have different statuses of where the property is, and you need to follow what is going on as soon as it moves from point A to point B. There should be a list of what you should be able to follow in order to get it from B now to C. So Donna, in your standpoint, like, what was the realization for you when you were doing this business? How were you able to start scaling from, it was just you doing 5 rehabs at a time to now you're doing 100+ homes per year? And that's a mixture of rehabs, wholesaling, all that kind of stuff in there. Like, what was the realization for you in order to do those types of numbers? What did you first have to realize in order to make that like a success?
Well, the first thing I need to realize is that I need to get out of the way. I need to stop being a bottleneck. As owners, we want to control everything. We mentioned that in the last segment. We want to control everything. So usually we want all the decisions to come through us, and we want to give our stamp of approval. And I had to let that go. I did a meeting a while back where I had my team come in and talk. And I remember asking Cass, who's like my right hand in my company, said, what did I do as an owner and as a company? What do we do to empower you to be successful?
Yeah.
And she said, you allowed me to think for myself. You allowed me to make my own decisions. And that is the underlying reason why my business is successful, is because I've allowed my team to think and make choices, make decisions, and make it fairly okay to make a mistake. You know, as long as they're willing to learn from it, make a mistake. I think as business owners, we make the mistake of thinking that without perfection in our staff, there's no reason to let them have the opportunity to make decisions.
Yeah.
And when I look in the mirror, I can look at my life behind me and see just failure after failure after failure. I have failed and I have made bad decisions. I have made mistakes, and that's how I've learned, and that's how I become a good businessman. So how dare I think that they're not allowed to fail? How are they going to be what I need them to be if I can't allow them to make a mistake?
Right.
So as long as they learn from it, right? As long as they have a brain in their head and they're willing to think and they're willing to learn from it, set them free, let them stand and fall on their own merit. And you're going to find out that you're going to have a team that's going to fight harder for your business than you probably ever would.
No, that's an awesome way to do it. Like, give everybody the opportunity to feel like they're really part of the company, because make them feel like, hey, what you put into it is what you get out. And, you know, there's a gentleman that I know, his name is Vishan Lakhani. He owns a company in the Philippines called Mind Valley, and he has kind of like the same approach. He wants people to think outside the box, and the guy does, like, I think, like, you know, 8 figures per year. He's in a different space than us. He's like, I think he's like in the motivation / inspiration space, but it's same thing. Like, I learned that same thing, Don, from reading the book, The 4-Hour Workweek.
Right.
You know, just kind of like, I think Tim had his brain supplement company. And he was like, don't call me unless, you know, the problem arises above like this. So he limited like the amount of phone calls he had, and it really allowed folks to, you know, take control of their own destiny within the company. And if they did make mistakes, it wouldn't just be like, you know, you get like a punishment, and next thing you know, you've getting written up by corporate. Because coming from the corporate world, like, you know, a write-up or giving somebody a write-up, like, all that does to them is make them feel, you know, like less of a person. And you never want to do that to somebody, because it makes them feel awful. And you and I, Don, we're in the business of, you know, changing lives. And one of the main things is, you know, if we can help change the lives of the people that are on our team, they're going to want to work with us for a very, very long period of time. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree 100%. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I want is I want them to feel like they have an opportunity to grow and become what they want to be within the organization, and again, accomplish, you know, what their goals are in life through our organization. That's what I want in my team. And we have a great culture here because of that. And we're very, very protective of our culture now as a company.
That's
awesome.
Awesome.
We have some great people. Yeah.
No, that's awesome, man. So question, going back to like your, you know, the way you have your business broken down, how do you and the team establish like what's going to be a good rehab, what's going to be a good wholesale, what's going to be a good wholesale? Like, how do you differentiate, like, hey, we want this as a rehab compared to the other 2 options? Like, how do you guys differentiate those 3?
You know, if I'm being as transparent as possible, we really look at everything like a rehab. I mean, because we are a rehab company first. And the only properties that we've wholesaled are stuff that, you know, we wouldn't touch and we're not comfortable closing on. So, I mean, like, I had a property in contract that had a tree growing through the roof and railroad tracks behind it and all kinds of stuff. And we just decided it wasn't going to be a good fit for us as a rehab, and we weren't comfortable closing on it. So we approached a hedge fund and to see if they're interested. We ended up making $15,000 off that project. So,
nice.
Yeah. So, you know, those are the kind of things we'll wholesale. It typically, what, like, our strategy lately with the wholesale stuff is it works as a rehab. So let's close on it, throw it on the market for 10 days or so and see if we get offers. And if we don't get offers, we'll go ahead and rehab it. That's kind of how we've been approaching it. We're in a great position to do that. And so, and I'm running out of rehab projects. We're selling everything without even touching it. And it is the current condition of my market, and we're just taking advantage of it. So But yeah, long-winded answer for we really approach everything as a rehab because that's our core competency first. And I've looked at, okay, well, let's look at wholesaling a little deeper. Maybe we should do that more as a company. It's almost two different mindsets. Wholesalers, for the most part, you really look at core numbers, but you don't know what an end buyer is going to be willing to pay, whether or not they're a landlord buyer or a rehabber, or so you can't, sometimes you'll kind of contract something and throw it up against the wall and see if it's going to stick.
Right.
We're not looking at it that way. We're looking at, we're going to close on everything. So we're evaluating it with a little deeper dive, if that makes sense right now.
Totally makes sense. Yeah, that's a great way to approach it, especially since you guys are in that stage within your business where you are evaluating everything as a rehab company. And that's a really great point too, Don, is you need to establish like what you're doing in your business, like what's your primary focus, and then everything else becomes secondary at that point. Like, I really like that approach. I was actually going to ask you, like, do you list it for a little bit just to see if you'll get some nibbles? And there goes, that was the case, because that's what we do. We do put them on the market, for a little bit, similar to what you guys do. And if we get some nibbles on it, awesome. That works out even better. And, if we could get it sold before we have to get it rehabbed, that makes even more sense. So that's great. Yeah. That's really good. So this is what I want to do, Don, is let's talk about money here in just a second, because you brought up Carlton Sheets, the whole no money down thing. I used to watch Carlton Sheets late at night, especially that senior year of high school. I was going through, oh man, what am I going to do? Am I going to junior college because I don't have good enough grades to get into a regular college? What am I going to do after high school? I had no idea, and I started, watching all these late night infomercials. So I was just like, how do I do this? So coming up here in just a second, we're going to talk to Don about some of the private money strategies that he does, because let's face it, if you don't have the money yourself, you're going to need to get the money somehow. And we've been able to do that as real estate investors using OPM, other people's money. So stay tuned. You don't want to miss it. When we come back with Don, we're going to talk about some private money and how he's doing all of these deals. Because what it really boils down to is, do you have the money? So coming up here in just a second, we're going to talk about that. Stay tuned.
I hear from real estate investors how much of a challenge it is finding motivated sellers. This is happening all over the country. Real estate investors not knowing where their next deal will come from. I can tell you on page 141 of my book, Right Flipping Now, I address how you can easily find deeply discounted off-market deals. The 98% of investors out there don't have a clue about this. You can easily duplicate this process within your own business today. Grab a copy of my book now at getmyflippingbook.com, and you can start finding deals for 50, 40, and 30 cents on the dollar without any competition. I have copies of my book available right now at getmyflippingbook.com, and you can have a step-by-step plan for making profits within the next 30 to 60 days. Go to getmyflippingbook.com. That's getmyflippingbook.com. It's www.getmyflippingbook.com.
Hey there, welcome back. It's Jason Lucchese with the No Flipping Excuses Show. I'm so excited that you're on here with us right here, right now. I'm with my good friend, Don Costa, and this dude is doing some amazing stuff in his market. He's doing 100 plus deals, and we just got done talking about rehabbing and the differences between looking at it from a rehab to a wholesale transaction. And Don was really cool to break that down and how he was able to systematize his business with having the right key people in his business. So we're going to shift gears a little bit right now and talk about money. Like money. That's what we all need in this business, right? We talk about you need money to make money, and that is true. But you could also use other people's money when you don't have your own. So Don, with doing the amount of volume that you're doing, I'm assuming, like, are you using other people's money to do these deals?
Yeah, we use private money. I'm not a hard money user. I never have been a hard money user. I'm all private individual lenders and that kind of thing. So, and we're very particular about how we borrow. I only do 100% from any lender. Basically, they cover the full rehab, full purchase price, full holding cost. I don't have any money in any project at all for any reason ever. And I'm that way for the main reason was the last time, from 2003 to 2008, before I started to kind of fall apart because the market crashed. I was way over leveraged. I had money in projects, I had money in outside ventures, I had money everywhere, but I did not have money in the bank. I was balling broke, like a lot of I think rehabbers do. I was balling broke, having a good old time, being rich without any money in the bank. And so when the market turned, I had no capital in the bank, and I made every decision from that point on from a position of fear and weakness. And I never want to be there again.
Yeah.
So to me, my skin in the game is money that I have, my reserves, my capital reserves in the bank. I've spent the last handful of years just basically building capital reserves. And that's how I approach lenders. That's my skin in the game. My ability to make every decision from a position of power and strength.
Yeah.
And not fear. And so I always tell people, first and foremost, when you start borrowing, that's the way you need to do it. I always use an analogy. You buy 2 properties a month with a payment of $1,000 each. They're $100,000 each property. You got to put 20% down. So you're $40,000 in down payments and $2,000 in monthly payment your first month. Your average turn time is 120 days. By the end of that scenario, you're out of pocket $180,000 before you ever see a dime. How do you ever scale that?
Yeah.
We make a lot of money in this business, right? We make a lot of money. We might make $30, $40, $50,000 a project. But how do you keep up with scaling and growing your business if you're going to do 50, 60, 100 properties a year? You can't and lay out that much capital. And I don't think people really realize that in this game of real estate investing. So the first thing is to be smart about your business and make sure that you're keeping capital reserves and you're running a healthy business. Even when we buy a property, if we have to close, say, in 2 days on a property, we'll fund it and I'll refinance it right after I close and pull my money back out. I never leave my money in a project, and I sleep well at night. I get to do what I want. I'm happy. I'm not stressed about it. I don't know, Jason, I'm sure, you've been in this business for a while. How many times did you think you knew what it was going to take to get a project done, thought you had plenty of money, and then you went over budget, or it took an extra month to sell, and then you were scrambling to try to get another project funded or pay your bills?
Oh man, that typically happens most of the time on
Right.
our rehab projects. So you could try and become as prepared as possible, but you can never foresee, like, once you start ripping stuff off in rehabs, things happen, and you some people don't hold those particular numbers into their numbers, their projections. I always try and fluff the numbers a little bit just to be, on the conservative side. But that's just me. Even though when I still do that, there's still going to be times when we go over budget there for sure. So that definitely does happen, Don.
Yeah. So, and if you're using your own money and say you're buying a property it's 140 all in and you have 145,000, you think you're good in the bank, right? And you go over project over budget $7,000 in that project. Now you're stressing, not sleeping, and you're making a decision from a position of weakness. Now you're desperate to sell that property and get anything you can out of it. Instead of maximizing your ROI, you're desperate to get anything you can out of it so you can recover and pay your bills and eat. And that's just not a smart place to be. So the first thing I would recommend when you're raising private money is always go for a lender who's going to give you 100%. Now, when you're brand new, that's a little harder to get 100% at rate and term, right? At like 10% or 8% interest. When I started brand new, I used JV money, and JV money is simple. They put up all the money, whatever it takes to get the project done. You do all the work and you do a profit split. My lender was 50-50. And again, I'm zero out of pocket. I can make all my decisions from a position of power. I always laid down the law and told them that I was in charge of the project. I was the boss. There was no coming in and Monday morning quarterbacking me.
Yeah.
They were the money. And that's the way I started and built my business. And I was able to scale my business fairly quickly because I could make my decisions from a position of power and I had that capital available. And then once I had stability in my operation and the track record again, I was able to transition to the rate and term money. So either way, just do whatever you can not to put your own money in it, especially when you're brand new at your first or second project, because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And you're gonna go over budget. You're gonna go over timeline. You're gonna have issues.
Yeah.
And it's just better to be able to not put yourself in that position.
No, that's funny that you say that about, hey, I'm in control here, because that I always see that show, The Prophet with Marcus Lemonis. Have you seen that show?
Right. All the time. I love that show.
Oh,
that guy.
That's such a good show. Like when I started watching a while ago, I'm like, wow, this is such a really good show. Like this is like on TV, it's free. And for those that are entrepreneurs, investors, whatever it may be, a business owner of any kind, like you can get so much from that show, because as soon as Marcus comes in, he literally dives right into the books, and he could literally pinpoint like what's wrong within the matter of like hours. And then he puts an offer out to them to basically kind of come in, and he comes in as a partner, and he does exactly what Don does. He says, I'm in control though. Before they take his money, he's like, I'm in control. And right. If I was in a position to where I had him come on and he was like, hey, I'm in control, I'm like, okay, cool. Because the dude, like, I don't know, he's like what, probably 8 or 9 figures. He's pretty wealthy individual, but I like that approach to it. Like you got to take the bull by the horns. So Don, getting back to private money, I know I went off on a tangent there about the Prophet, but after you started doing those JV deals and you approached like a private money lender, what was your way of getting your foot in the door to allow them to do 100% financing and getting you really good terms on your deal? Like what did you have to show them?
I did, a lot of people talk about credibility package and all this kind of stuff like that. I don't believe in that. I guess if you are comfortable with it, that's fine. I personally don't believe in it. I don't feel like people look at all that kind of stuff. I think it's a pretty package to hand somebody, but I think they're going to get in their car and it's going to sit in the passenger seat until it goes into the trash.
Yeah.
So my thing is I want to sit down and have a conversation with you. I want to show you that I'm the horse you can bet on. And I want to sit and have a conversation about what your goals are, what you want to accomplish, what our goals are, and what we want to accomplish, and see if we're a fit.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of the conversation. I never go into a meeting with a property in hand. I never go into a meeting asking for money for a project. I always go into a meeting asking for an opportunity to see if our goals are in line. And I found that going in there, knowing my value, being confident in what I have to accomplish and what I have to offer, and going in there and just having that conversation, it creates a stability, a trust, a something, that you don't get when you're going in there and asking for money. I got this project and I get it funded by next week, and please give me your money. I mean, you don't get, I want to give this guy my money feeling. But when I go in there and I'm like, are our goals in line? Looks like we are. Let me see if I have a project in our pipeline that's going to fit your goals. And as soon as I come across something, I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
That creates an error of confidence in me, myself. I would be confident somebody carrying themselves that way. And even back when I was like, really, really scaling and growing and really trying to find more and more private money, even when I was desperate for money, I never, ever asked for money in the first meeting. It was, let me see if I have something in the pipeline. And I would go back to my desk and like an hour later, I'd say, you know what? I just noticed I had this that fits your goal. Take a look at it and see if it fits your needs.
Yeah.
And I would send over my little worksheet. And yeah, so know your value, go in there with confidence. Don't go in there asking for the money. Go in there making sure your goals are aligned. And if they are, let them know that you'll send something over since you have it available. And that doesn't mean if you have it available right then or later, No,
dude, that is so awesome that you approach it that way, because for folks that are listening, they're probably like, oh man, I need to have properties done. I need to be able to do this. I need a really solid presentation to give them. I really like your approach, Don, because you're going in there and you're basically you're betting on me. We're doing this together. Right. And right. You're like you said, you're in control. You are the power player and you're in control of everything that's going on. So that's awesome that you go about it that way. And it really allows more human interaction, in my opinion, than, just floating some numbers across on a potential deal rather than a real deal. What's your approach to talking terms and all that kind of stuff with your with your private money person, do you ever like say, hey, I can do this for you? Or do you allow them to say, hey, I'm willing to give you this on this particular deal?
So, talking terms, you always want to kind of put it back in their court to a certain degree and see what they're looking for.
Yeah.
It's the first rule of sales. First person to speaks loses, right? I mean, you may offer more than they're willing to, they originally wanted to take. So, ask them what their goals are. Like I said, what they're looking to make on the property. Do they have an idea what interest they'd like to get? What kind of terms they typically lend on? And then you lay out what you're willing to do. And so, sometimes because I'll pay 8 to 10% interest generally. I'm happy paying 10 if you're easy to work with. If I know I can close quickly, we're in and out of projects. Doesn't that interest doesn't add up too much. So, but if I'll listen and maybe you want 8. So then I'll reframe my conversation to, okay, I'll do 8 at 100% interest, or maybe they're willing to take, 6, but they want you to come in with 20%. Well, what if I give you 10 and you loan 100%?
Right.
It gives me an opportunity to reframe my discussion and my negotiations and the money. So you always ask them kind of first what their goals are, what their terms are, and then you go from there. And if they're crazy and they're asking for like 13%, then I'll just tell them, look, if you want to do business with me, it's 100%. I'm not paying more than 10.
Right.
So, and it's if you want to do business with me, it's not, oh, can I please do business with you? So I always frame it in I don't know. I just frame it from a position of power. I learned that a long time ago. So
no, it's great. I'm actually jotting down some notes here on what you just said, which is good stuff. What are you seeing as some of your normal like deals that you're doing with private money lenders? Like if somebody's listening to this right now and they're like, well, what should I kind of be like in the ballpark for? Like I've got numbers that I do with my folks, but you're the guest on here. You're the one that's featured. So I want to kind of see like what your thoughts are on this. Like what are your normal type private money deals look like? What is that structure?
So typically, well, if I'm understanding the question properly,
yeah,
we do deed of trust. So they lend on the property, deed of trust on every property we do. We don't do any unsecured money. I learned the hard way the last time around. I don't like unsecured. Some people love it. It is, typically we're between 6 and 10% depending on the lender interest. And most of the lenders I work with, we don't have any minimums. They're all a little different. Like I have one guy that he lends me at 10%, 100% of the project. And he will fund the purchase and then hold back the rehab. And then each week he gives me wherever we're at for that week. And I'm good with that because we do our bookkeeping every week anyway. And then he wants a 4-month guarantee. Okay. So I guarantee 4 months, even though we usually turn about 90 days. So I usually pay an extra month, but that's okay. He's easy to work with for the most part. And then I have lenders that are no minimum, they're 10% interest. And they fund the money, the purchase and the rehab into escrow. We get the rehab when escrow closes. It sits in our account. We send them a report every week on what we spent. So either way, we're still generating that report to the lender. And then we pay the interest at the end of the loan when we close. We close and we do the payoff. We pay all the interest in one shot. So everybody's a little different, if that's what you're asking. Some people we make monthly payments to, some people we don't. Some people hold the rehab back. Some people give it to us. And the way we're structured as a company where we do our bookkeeping every week and we send a report to the investors every week, I don't care. If you hold the money and reimburse me, as long as I have it before I have to give it out, I'm okay.
Gotcha.
So does that answer your question?
No, it does. Like some of the things like some people are like, well, what do you typically pay as like a rate? Do you pay any points? Like are points on the front or points on the back end? Typically for us, we're anywhere between like 8 and 9% that we're paying out on an interest payment, and that's typically going to be like an interest only payment that we do on a monthly basis.
Right.
And some of our folks are going to be between like 1 to 3 points, and we typically, depending on the individual, we typically put it on the back end to where when we sell the property, they get those points just to make it a little bit more advantageous for them to get involved on the project.
Right.
Does that kind of like make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
We try not to pay any points at all. I won't pay more than 2. Our average is 1 if we do pay them.
Yeah.
And if we're paying points, like, so you have a lender that's going to have you make monthly payments. We have one that does. They'll want you to pay the points and the first month's interest usually at the close of escrow. They want you to come in with that money. I won't. If I'm paying you, if I'm gonna give you 1 point, that 1 point in the first month's interest gets wrapped into the loan. So that's part of the loan. I'm not coming into that project with any money because that starts to add up.
Yeah.
I'll make that monthly payment. It's not that big of a deal. But that chunk down, even if it's $4,000 or $5,000, if you're doing 10 properties a month, that adds up significantly.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. So I've went back, and this is through trial and tribulation. I mean, when I switched to rate and term, I was coming in with my point and my first month's interest, and then they weren't wanting to reimburse me for if I went and bought cabinets. They weren't wanting to reimburse me until they were installed, and so I just finally went back to him and said, this isn't working. I almost put myself out of business because with no cash flow. So I went back to him and said, this isn't working. You need to, if you want me to pay a point, you're financing it into the loan. You're reimbursing me for everything that I'm spending that week regardless. Otherwise, we're not working together, because I need the cash flow of my operation to be healthy. And I can't be chasing my tail and worried about things. And so, I just went back and said, if you want to work with me, this is how we're going to do it. To me, it's all about cash flow. You can run a profitable business, and if you don't have cash flow, you're out of business. I had a cell phone store years ago, and we were on consignment. We got all these phones on consignment, and we maxed out our credit. We blew all the phones out the first month. We had no credit to buy any more phones, and we didn't get our commissions for 45 days. We were dead in the water.
Oh man.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
So you got to have capital reserves so you can operate. You got to have cash flow. You can have a business that's losing money every month, and if you have cash flow, you're in business forever. So just understanding that, I manipulate my business in a way with every relationship I have to maximize my cash flow and cash reserves.
No, that's awesome. And probably something that's going to come up here from folks, and I want to maybe just knock it out right now since we got you on here. Do any of your lenders do draw periods, or do they allow you to just get all the rehab money right up front?
Okay. So everybody's different. I mentioned that just a little while ago. Some of them will give you the rehab money up front. I actually prefer not to do that because it becomes kind of a accounting nightmare. You got to keep it separate.
Yeah.
And and then some of them do the draws. And the way the draws work is, we get the invoicing in by Friday. We cut all the checks on Mondays. We send all of our lenders, whether we have the money or we're drawing, we send them a report. This is what we're paying out this week, and here's all the invoices attached to prove it. We send that report, and they'll either, if we've gotten the money up front, they just have the report for their records. And if they're reimbursing, if that report says we're paying out $10,000 this week, they'll drop a check off for $10,000 in our office by Thursday, and then we hand out the checks on Friday. So it's all systematized to manage cash flow. Gotcha. So, it's fine. I don't care, as long as they're dropping out the check or wiring the money by Thursday, I don't care if we're doing draws. But it's not like, oh, you got to get a third done and get your draw, and you got to get this done and get your draw. No, we're paying out every week. We're drawing every week. If you want to do that work, then that's fine with me.
No, that sounds great. That sounds great. And, raising the private money, like what would, let me just ask you this instead of just, going into another entire episode. We could probably just drop a whole nother episode talking about it. But if you had to give one source, like what would be your one source that you would give away for finding a private money lender? Like what would you say is a really great way to find somebody?
That's a great question, and we shake every bush. So I'm trying to think what would be the best way. I ask the title reps we work with, is there anybody out there lending that's not happy with who they're lending to or has more money available that you can recommend me? I mean, that's been a great source for private money for us. I ask the agents that I work with, anybody out there who's lending to other people that aren't happy or that may have just sold something and come into capital. I've gotten lenders that way. I ask my current private money lenders if they know anybody else because money runs with money, right? Yep. So if they know anybody else. I know a lot of people, I haven't done this yet, but I know a lot of people who have approached people they bought properties from and turned them into private money lenders and been very successful that way. So, and I've even found them on Craigslist. And when I say that, I want to do the caveat disclaimer. It's not, I found him on Craigslist and he was in Africa and was going to tell me about his cousin who just died and there's $1 of gold. I mean, I found him on Craigslist. I'm doing this and I'm interested in a partner. And if you're close enough to meet for a cup of coffee, let's meet.
Yeah.
And I found them that way. So it's you got to shake every bush, but they're everywhere. It's don't be afraid to run your mouth. I think ultimately run your mouth, let people know what you're doing, let people know what you're looking for, and they will appear. I've even, let me caveat. I know you're going to about ready to say something here, but
oh no, you're fine.
I dropped my son off at a play date one time, or my wife did. I picked him up from the play date and they're in the middle of remodeling their house. And I was talking to the mom and I said, well, here's my card. I flip houses. If you need any contractor recommendations, let me know. 2 months later, her brother called me oh, we just did this thing with an agent where we bought 4 properties and he's going to help us flip it. And he doesn't know what he's going to, he did basically disappeared and we need help flipping it. And can you come look at it? And I met him at one of the properties and I'm like, I'll manage this rehab. I'll knock it out for you for free. I said, I want to show you what I can do. And I said, the second I get you out of this mess, I need private money lenders. And he's like, all right, well, let me show you this next property. I'm like, I'll do this one for 25% of your profit. He's like, let me show you this next property. I'm like, all right, I'll do this one for 50% of your profit. So after all 4 of them, we had this deal where the first one was free and then the scaling that profit share on each one of them. And then I turned them into private money lenders and worked with them since.
That's awesome.
So just because I said, if you need help, you need advice on a contractor, here's my card. So run your mouth.
No, exactly. Yeah. You need to get out there, talk to more people. There's so many opportunities available, especially YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Craigslist. There's so many different opportunities out there for you to just reach out to folks and just ask them simple questions and, go out for a cup of coffee or, go out for lunch and just, take some people out, and one of the big things, Don, that we've been able to do is some of the cash buyers that have bought deals from us have turned into private money lenders. So it could work in several different areas. So what I want to let folks know is we're going to continue the conversation here in just a moment. We're going to talk to Don. I'm going to do the hot seat, the No Flipping Excuses show. We're doing the hot seat here for Don. So stay tuned. You don't want to miss the answers that Don is going to give to the hot seat questions. These are going to be some game changers for you. And you will want to stick around because Don is going to get grilled here. So we'll be right back. Talk to you soon.
Are you facing a roadblock with getting started in real estate? This is an obstacle a lot of brand new investors face. Building a rock solid foundation is key to building your investing empire. I can tell you on page 95 of my book, Right Flipping Now, I address how you can build a lasting foundation that won't topple over when you're on the 3rd floor. Do not avoid laying the proper foundation for your business. I've made this drop dead simple for you to just rip off and use within your own real estate investing business. Grab a copy of my book now at getmyflippingbook.com and you can have the confidence you need to find and flip deals consistently month after month. I have copies of my book available at getmyflippingbook.com and you can have a step-by-step proven plan for making profits on your very first deal, or maybe that second deal, closing within the next 30 to 60 days. Go to getmyflippingbook.com. Getmyflippingbook.com.
Hey there, what's up? It's Jason Lucchese, and welcome back to the No Flipping Excuses show. I'm joined by my good friend, Mr. Don Costa. He's doing amazing things, 100 plus flips per year. This guy's doing some absolute game-changing stuff in his business, and we've been talking about rehabbing, private money, where to get started, how to get yourself from $0 all the way on up to a gargantuan business that Don is doing. And right now, we've got Don in the hot seat, and I'm going to ask him some questions. So let's go ahead, Don. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So one of your favorite books, what would you say has been a favorite book that's been a game changer to you and your business?
I can drop a lot of books like Traction and, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. A lot of people read as favorite books, but, the game changer for me was a book that, I was a kid that kind of had a rough edge when I was younger. And I had a principal have me read How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Oh, cool.
And it's an older book, but that was the one that put me on the path. And the next book I read was Think and Grow Rich. And then from there, that's where I kind of learned that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I think that How to Win Friends and Influence People is a great book, especially for people who are in sales. And there's a lot of people in this business that need that book. So it is a great book, and it's timeless. And it just really gives you some great strategies, especially when you're scared to go out there and talk to people and talk to sellers. And you feel like you're not going to be accepted by the seller when you're going out there to negotiate. I think it's a great tool to utilize.
Oh yeah, that is. Yeah, that's a great book by Carnegie. And then your Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Those are some really, really great books. Next hot seat question. your view for 2018. What do you think the state of the market is?
I think that there's a lot of opportunities in a lot of markets across the United States to really take advantage of working less and making more. The market is really, really hot right now in a lot of areas, and definitely a good place to take advantage of some great opportunities. I will say this, that market cycles do change, and there are a lot of newer people that come in like I did when I was new and I came in and I made money. I started in 2003, one of the hottest markets ever.
Yeah.
And I let it go to my head and I thought everything I touched turned to gold, and I became arrogant about it. So just know going into it, take advantage of it while it's hot, prepare for when it's not, and put your pieces in place while you have the money and things going on to be prepared to add value when the market turns.
No, that's awesome. That's some great feedback. Diving into hot seat question number 3, top tip for getting started.
Top tip for getting started, just take action. I think that's everybody's saying. Take action, get out there, start talking to people, start learning, start going to RIA's network. OPM is not just other people's money, it's other people's marketing. Every time you see a bandit sign or a Craigslist post, call that person, introduce yourself, ask for an opportunity to have a cup of coffee. A lot of people in this business are givers and willing to share and teach and help you grow. You call me and introduce yourself that you want to wholesale. I'll teach you how to wholesale because I want you bringing me projects.
Yeah.
So use other people's marketing, get out there and just start running your mouth.
No, that's great advice. That's what a lot of us did when we first got started, right?
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
When I was doing short sales, I probably spoke to 75 different real estate agents, and I think I got like 2 or 3 out of it. So it's a numbers thing. So you got to get out there and do it.
Yep.
No, great advice. So last hot seat question here, top tip for scaling your business. So for those folks that are advanced, that are on here, maybe that's seasoned pro and they're still in their business, what would you say to them for scaling their business?
I have 2 tips for this one. The first one is stop looking at scaling your business opportunities as an expense and start looking at them as an investment. Hiring somebody is not an expense, it's an investment. They should be returning profitability to your business. So understand that, quit being scared and start taking action. Again, take action, right?
Yep.
And then the second thing I would say, probably the most important thing, is get out of your own way. Quit being a bottleneck. Get out of your way. Let people do what they do. Let them make mistakes and let them succeed.
Yep. No, that's great. That's great. No, that's great advice. And you talked about a book just a little bit ago called Traction. That's a really great book for scaling. It's by Gino Wickman. That's a great book. I thought that was a great book on top of E-Myth by Michael Gerber, because those are some really great books. Like I read the E-Myth book before Traction, because obviously Traction came out after E-Myth, but it's some really, really great points in Traction that kind of miss the gaps that were in E-Myth. So great stuff there, Don. Now, guys, Don has his podcast too. So I want to encourage you to listen to Don's podcast too. It's called Flip Talk. Don, you want to talk just a little bit about what Flip Talk is all about?
Yeah, Flip Talk, it's a lot of great interviews. I think, like a lot of the podcasts out there, we really try to dig into the nuts and bolts of everybody's business. We're expanding to 3 shows a week. We've been 1 show a week. Every Friday, we're going to do a real estate roundtable now. Jason, I'll definitely have you on that, or just a group of us get on and we just talk. We don't really interview each other. We just kind of have a conversation about the state of our businesses, share some wins, share some struggles. It's really cool. And we're launching a Monday show, which we're going to be talking to, basically going through week by week what you do to get started in this business all the way through your first year. And we'll continue the interviews on Wednesday. So it's exciting stuff. You can always email me at don@fliptalk.com if you want to reach out to me and just say hello. And you can find our website at fliptalk.com. So yeah, I'm excited. It's been fun. I started it, over a year ago now, and I've just had the opportunity to meet so many amazing people around the country, and it's just been fun. So
no, that's awesome, man. And that's don@fliptalk.com. Also too, Don's got a killer Facebook group. It's just called Flip Talk. There's some really cool people in his group too, so you could check that out. Flip Talk is on iTunes, so you definitely want to go check that out. I was recently a guest on Don's show, and he runs a really, really great show. So I encourage you to go be a subscriber, leave Don a 5-star review as well. And that's about it. Any final words that you have for our No Flipping Excuses guests?
No, I mean, I just thank you for having me on, Jason. I know you're a rock star, man. I've been watching a lot of what you've been doing, and it's been really cool to see you making some great things happen. So, for everybody, I think the last thing I'll say is just take action. Just get out there and do it. Have 2018 be your year.
I agree, man. Take action. You could literally make 2018 a phenomenal year for yourself. You can make it the best year ever. If you need anything whatsoever from us, you could feel free to reach out at 317-900-1307, or you could reach us by email, which is support@jasonluchesi.com, and that's JASONLUCCHESI.com. Again, I want to say thank you to Don Costa for joining us today. Make sure you go check him out on iTunes at Flip Talk, and we will see you on the next No Flipping Excuses show. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. Talk to you soon. Bye now.
Thanks for listening. For show notes and links to anything discussed on today's program, visit noflippingexcuses.com. If you'd like to call the show, dial 317-900-1307, 24/7. Leave a message with your first name and where you're calling from, and include your question, comment, or concern. Who knows? You might end up on the air with Jason Lucchesi. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher. The links are posted at noflippingexcuses.com. Remember, you can close more deals now, make your own rules, and design and live an amazing life without having some jerk-off boss tell you what to do. Share noflippingexcuses.com with like-minded people you know who are ready for badassery, crushing it in real estate, and enjoying freedom to whatever you like, whenever you like it.